Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Heard That. This is the unofficial checks and balances for the herd with Colin Cowherd. Long story short, ever since he moved from ESPN to Fox, his opinions have been kind of getting out there a little bit. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. Always a fan regardless, always entertained. But what I do is I judge his takes between good, thumbs up, which I call vintage herd, and thumbs down, which I call Coastal Colin. Coastal Colin doesn't really think as in-depth as maybe Vintage Herd would have. And today I'm going to be talking about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. He came out a couple days ago, I think it was his last week actually, and he said, look, Dallas, they hire Mike McCarthy. They're not sure if they want to give Dak Prescott, who against playoff teams, his record's not that hot. We saw after the opening of their schedule, which is very easy, he kind of came down to earth. Is the team really more about the offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott? Well, anyway, what Colin Cowherd said is, hey, look, if you're Dallas, maybe you just franchise him this year. You pay him that 1 year just to see. And at first instinct, myself included, at first instinct, I would have said, yeah, that's the right thing to do. But it's actually not. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to grade this Coastal Colin because, I think once you give this a little bit more thought, you'll see why. Now, let's take a step back. Let's look at division rival, the Washington Redskins. And if you want to know what not to do, just watch what the Washington Redskins and Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder did over the last decade. I'm going to talk briefly about specifically Kirk Cousins. Now, Scott McCloughan, when he was in charge of the Washington Redskins organization, they made the move, and Gruden and McCloughan, they both agreed that Kirk Cousins was the better fit than RG3 was back then. And they said, you know what, let's just get out in front of this quarterback negotiation. Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent. Let's extend Kirk Cousins like 5 years, $15 million a year. Let's just do it right now. And what did Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder say? They said, no, we don't want RG3 to get sad. So they didn't do it. Okay, flash forward, what happens after that season? Kirk Cousins says, hey, I put up numbers. I'm doing really well. I won the job. I want basically 20 to 24 million a year. Washington says, no, we don't know. We don't want to do that. So let's make you prove it, right? Prove it. What are the Dallas Cowboys talking about with the franchise tag? Prove it one more year. And by the way, what did Dak do in 2019? What was that? I thought that was the prove it year. But let's talk a little bit more about Kirk Cousins here. So Kirk Cousins plays that next year under the franchise tag of 20 million. Washington was throwing a bunch of lowball numbers. They couldn't get the franchise done. He puts up another really good year, and I think he might have even led them to the playoffs that first season. I can't recall. That might have been the year that they lost to the Giants at the end of the season. I can't recall. But either way, next year comes up. Washington tries to negotiate, and they said, okay, we'll give you $20 million a year. Kirk Cousins says, no. That was last year's number. Now I want $24 million a year. Or maybe he wanted 25 or something like that. Washington says, no, we're going to franchise tag you one more time at $24 million a season. So in 2 years, Kirk Cousins made $44 million. 2 seasons, $44 million. That amount of money in 2 seasons was more than Washington was offering initially, total guarantees for like a 5-year contract. So once again, in terms of guaranteed money, Kirk Cousins got 2 years, $44 million, and that was more than Washington was initially offering. Then, of course, what happens after that second year and his $44 million? Well, then he goes and signs with the Minnesota Vikings, 3 years, $27 million, all guaranteed, for a total of over a 5-year span, over $120 million for Kirk Cousins, right? We're talking about football economics here. So let's talk about Dak Prescott. What do we know will happen? Well, first of all, the quarterback position is not offensive tackle. It's not linebacker. It's not defensive end. It's not any of these other positions. It's quarterback. And quarterback contracts over time, this is bigger than the S&P. Probably 10% year over year, the number gets higher and higher, right? And so we're talking about, what does Dallas do? In my opinion, the cheapest thing Dallas can do to give a little test here is just extend Dak Prescott 3 or 4 years, guarantee 3 or 4 years. And what I do, and I'll come back to this in a little bit, what I would do is I would offer Dak Prescott 4 years at $35 million a year, guarantee the first 3 years of the contract. So guarantee, basically, what is that? 3 times 35, that's quick math here, $105 million guaranteed, and then that last year is non-guaranteed, so you can cut them loose on that fourth year if you want to. Now, people say that's ridiculous, right? I'll tell you why it's not ridiculous, okay? So this year, let's say you franchise an exclusive franchise tag, so nobody else can negotiate. That's projected to be at $33 million guaranteed for Dak Prescott in 2020. Dak Prescott took $2 million last year. He didn't like any of the contracts that were offered him. He says, I'm going to bet on myself. This is what you get when you bet on yourself. Now he gets a raise to $33 million and non-exclusive. And by the way, side tangent here. If you're Dallas, you don't do the non-exclusive. You transition tag. The number comes down from 33 to something like, I think, 27, 24 to 27, somewhere around there. Other teams can negotiate, and you have the right of first refusal. You don't get anything if he leaves in the transition tag, but you have the right of first refusal. That is the correct move financially for Dallas if you're going to play this game. But let's just assume, like everybody else does, that they go exclusive franchise, exclusive rights franchise, $33 million this year, right? Dak Prescott will say, okay, he'll sign that tomorrow, like everybody should, because of the Kirk Cousins factor. What did we know from Kirk Cousins? Again, 2 years. It was more in those 2 years in guaranteed money than he would have gotten if he had signed that original contract offer. Okay, $33 million this year. Dak Prescott's not going to sign an extension. What can the Cowboys offer him in guaranteed money this year when he knows he's got a check for $33 million sitting in his back pocket? Seriously, what would get you to move off of this? Would $60 million, 2 years? Dak Prescott knows he's going to be able to make on the franchise tag, if they do it next year, it'll be 39. Okay? So if he has a really good year and Dallas says, oh, we got to have Dak, and we know that Dak bets on himself, Dak Prescott's going to make 39 next year, 33 this year. That's a total of $72 million in 2 seasons for Dak Prescott. That's expensive. If Dallas just comes out, like I said, and offers a 4-year deal, guaranteed the first 3, once again, they're guaranteeing $105 million. Let me tell you, let me keep kind of going on this track, okay? So let's say next year, Dak Prescott, again, he's going to pocket a $39 million check if Dallas is like, we got to have this guy. We're going to franchise him one more time. And that's an expensive number, 39. I don't even know how feasible that is. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that he does it. Why is Dak next year going to sign a deal worth, what, $80 million in guaranteed? That's only an extra, what, $40 million? $42 million compared to what he already has in his back pocket. You have to remember the guaranteed money, and this is the PR game, that crap PR game that the Washington Redskins played, when they basically said, hey, Kirk Cousins, he's turning down $45 million guaranteed. Kirk Cousins was not turning down $45 million guaranteed. Kirk Cousins was turning down around $20 million guaranteed. Do you know why? Let me explain this to you. This is a little nerdy, but this is a little math here. So Kirk Cousins, once again, he had $24 million. That was a check. It was a franchise check from signing that. He had that in his back pocket. That money is his. What Washington was saying was, let's rip up that $24 million, Kirk, and we'll give you $45. Kirk's like, screw you, man. I'm making $24 this year. I'm going to make $27 next year. That's already more than guaranteed that you're offering me. And then I got 2 more years after that. So with Dak, what he's going to do in this situation, if the Cowboys go down the franchise route, Dak's just going to say, hey, let's roll it. Let's keep it rolling forward. I'll sign that franchise tag. I don't care. I'll keep betting on myself because I know I'm going to make 33 this year. I know I'm going to have a good season. The next year I'm going to make 39. And then after that year, it'll only be 2 years. I'm going to be in the prime of my career. Somebody's going to give me $100 million guaranteed at that point. That's what Dak's thinking. Now, Dallas, what do you do here? Again, if you're talking about sticking your toe in the water, you don't want to commit, the cheapest, best way to basically mitigate your risk here, once again, is that 3-year contract, guaranteed 3 years at $35 million at this point. Just get it out. Because if they extend into next year, don't forget that other quarterbacks are going to start to get more money. Once that Patrick Mahomes contract drops, Dak Prescott's going to say, hey, look, that's the biggest contract this year. I want Patrick Mahomes money. Is he worth it? That's a whole other discussion. I'm just going to say that's what's going to happen. This year at $35 million is not going to be as bad as next year at $35 million, and so on and so forth. And by the way, the new collective bargaining agreement, once the NFL starts to get more money in the door with gambling, and once that cap starts to raise, $35 million for a quarterback is cheap. Dak Prescott and his representation know this. It is less expensive for Dallas to just extend Dak. Now, do you think Dak is worth that money? Do I think Dak is worth that money? Probably not. But here's the thing. If you extend a franchise offer, you're basically betting on Dak to fail at this point, because the only way it works out in your favor is if he fails. If he succeeds, you're going to pay through the nose for him. You're going to pay more money. Okay, let me tell you one more. Everybody's saying, oh, 3 years guaranteed. Well, we're already in Kirk Cousins' last year of his deal, right? 3 years guaranteed, I believe, right? Okay, so let's say this year is a prove-it deal, and you give him $35 million. You're talking about a $33 million one-year franchise tag, or a 3 years guaranteed $35 million a year, okay? You're talking about $2 more million this year, $4 million less than next year's franchise number, and then you have basically 1 year afloat. Is it dead money? Are you kind of screwing yourselves just a little bit if Dak Prescott isn't great? Yes, but you're screwing yourself more if he's good. Okay, if he's good, you're going to be paying through the nose. Now, let me say another thing. If you're Dallas, and I'm completely okay with you not extending Dak Prescott, but if you don't want to extend him, then you need to make that decision now because you are going to screw yourself over time. This isn't a cornerback. This isn't an offensive lineman. It's not a guard. You can't franchise quarterbacks. They're the unfranchisable position. So if you don't want, if you're not convinced that Dak Prescott is the guy or not the guy or whatever, talk to McCarthy and make a move up, make a bold move in the draft and draft a quarterback. Right? Eason's going to drop. You're talking about with Love's ascension, maybe Herbert drops or something like that to the Dallas Cowboys pick. Probably not. But Dallas can move up and draft a quarterback of the future, or they can have Dak for the next 3 years and maybe try to find a quarterback in the first or second round that'll compete and push him in year 3 or year 4. But that over time is the least expensive proposition for the Dallas Cowboys while they're trying to ascend. And if Mike McCarthy, let's face it, dude, you hired him to help your quarterback. You hired him as an offensive guru. He should be able to help a 64% passer up his game to the next level. So, Dallas, yes, I know franchise, it's all the rage and everything. Not with quarterback. With quarterback, you end up losing leverage over time. It's the only position that does that. People don't pay attention to that. You can't franchise a quarterback, especially in a non-exclusive, I'm sorry, I keep saying non-exclusive, an exclusive franchise. It just doesn't work. So anyway, there's my take. Once again, Colin Cowherd, that is a Coastal Colin take. A little bit more thought with regards to quarterback at the franchise. You cannot franchise a quarterback because once you franchise a quarterback, it takes them off the path to extension because you can't offer enough in guarantees at that point unless you're throwing them like 150 or like 120 million in guarantees. And you're never going to do that with Dak anyway. If you're not willing to do 100 now, you're not going to be willing to do 120, 140 in the next year. It's just not going to happen, guys. So anyway, there you go. I know I'm not exactly in the mainstream with that commentary, but people will come back around because the math works. Anyway, thanks everybody. Keep watching. Appreciate it. We'll catch you in another video soon.